Hi there, Mike. Welcome to your first counseling session. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm very well, thanks. So, just to get started, what I do with all my clients, I go through the process of informed consent. So, just to let you know, this session is being recorded so that I can show my professor and receive some marks and feedback on my use of interviewing skills. Along with that, so confidentiality remains within this session. So that means I will not be sharing any information that you give me. Um, Aside from that, the only exception to your confidentiality would be if you make any comments about expressing harm to yourself or others, or if there's any um, talk of abuse of children or neglect. In that circumstance, I would need to bring in other professionals just to keep everybody in the situation safe. Along with that, also, so if there are any questions that you don't want to answer, that is completely okay. It's within your discretion and rights. And if you want me to stop the video at any time, I can and will delete the footage. Do you have any questions about the informed consent process or confidentiality?
No, that's okay.
All right, awesome. So let's just get started. Would you mind telling me just a little bit about yourself? Give me an idea of what your day-to-day life looks like.
So my name's Mike, obviously. I do collision repair for a living. I do enjoy going camping. I like being outdoors. It's been really hot this last week, so that's not been the greatest.
Yes, it's been
Um,
very hot.
yeah, it has not been good. Oh,
Yeah, I've
I
been
also
struggling with that too.
yeah, I do have a beautiful fur son. His name is Kato. And I do have another one. His name is Onyx.
Awesome. So Kato and Onyx, very nice.
hmm And then my fiance, Caitlin.
Awesome. And you live with Caitlin?
Yeah.
Great. Um,
hmm
that's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. So just moving along here, what has brought you in today? Could you tell me a little bit about that?
well, my fiance is kind of part of the reason. She really wanted me to come in, and my employer also kind of jumped at the fact. But I've been kind of struggling with abusing marijuana and cigarettes.
Okay, so your fiance and your employer thought that it might be beneficial for you to come and see me today regarding marijuana use and cigarette use.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, we can totally talk about that today. That's awesome. Um, so what exactly is making them say that you might benefit from therapy?
Um, I guess I've been having a lot of issues with memory. Um, Not like long term, like I'm not losing it, but on the short term side, I do have difficult times remembering even very simple tasks.
Okay, so you're experiencing a little bit of memory loss, and you think that's due to the marijuana use and the cigarettes?
Yeah. Just to clarify and make it easier, I mix them together. I don't really smoke cigarettes that often, but I always smoke cigarettes with my weed. I take the tobacco and I mix it in together.
Okay, awesome. Okay, yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that. Um, that's definitely something we can talk about, and maybe we can talk a little bit about the issues it's causing.
For sure. That'd be great.
All right. So you said your employer referred you to come to therapy today. Would you like to start there?
Yeah, sure. Um, so kind of when I'm at work, I've always had issues with my boss's son because I get along well with my boss, and my boss and his son don't really get along. So he does kind of bring a lot of his issues towards me, but it's like it's things that don't always necessarily concern me.
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay, so you have a pretty good relationship with your boss, um,
Hmm.
and he has a son. The son works there with you?
Unfortunately.
Okay, yeah. All right. And so he sees this relationship you have with his father, and maybe that's what I'm getting the sense of. He's kind of picking on you a little bit because of that.
Yeah. And that's kind of what started me using like marijuana at work, was just to kind of help the day go by quicker and make me not care so much about what he thinks or has to say.
Okay, yeah, I totally understand that. So you're finding that your cigarette and marijuana use is stemming from some of these issues you're having at work. It's kind of like maybe a coping mechanism with that.
Yeah, I guess you could say that.
Okay. Um, so are you smoking the marijuana and the cigarettes while you're working?
Yeah, I didn't always I'd maybe get to work and I'd smoke a bowl and just kind of go on throughout the day. And then by the time I got home, maybe I'd smoke another bowl, but it's becoming a more consistent thing. And I kind of just do it throughout the day as I feel I need to.
Okay. Yeah, I totally understand that. Um, I guess it's when these hard things happen at work, we can kind of sink into the doing more of what makes us feel better. Am I getting that right?
Yeah, it really helps me just not care about the day. Not care about the day, but not care about him attacking me.
Hmm. Okay. When you say attacking, what other sorts of things are happening there?
It's more of like verbal attacking, not physically. I should have clarified that. But it's just whenever there's an issue, whether it's my fault or somebody else's, his aggression and attitude and just it always kind of spills back towards me and only me. He doesn't take those issues out on anybody else that works there. It's always just me.
Wow, yeah, I can see how that can be really difficult to deal with, especially when you're trying to do a good job and you have this person kind of picking on you. That can be really tough.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so just from what I understand, you do have a good relationship with your boss, but you're finding that his son is causing some issues at work for you, and that's kind of what has made you go further into your use with marijuana and cigarettes while you're at work.
Yeah, that's pretty well sums it up, I guess. But
Okay.
it's getting to a more severe point where they know I'm doing it, and my boss is kind of threatening my employment, threatening to cut my hours back, and just kind of figure out how he can run his business better without me.
Okay. How's that making you feel? Dealing with maybe the threatening of cutting your hours.
It is very difficult to deal with, but I feel I might be able to adjust somewhere else and get back to my normal life without using weed while I'm at work all the time, because there's just so much personal issues there. And I feel like I've been there just for too long to be able to heal those issues.
Okay. Thank you so much for sharing that, Mike. That really helps me kind of get an understanding of where we're at with the substance use. We can totally come back to that later. I'm just wondering a little bit about your home life. Since your fiance is one of the people that thought you might benefit from therapy today, do you want to talk a little bit about what's going on there?
Well, it kind of just it turned from it turned from like a just a work dependency to bringing that dependency home with the stress of the wedding and all that coming up, and planning it and dealing with everything else. It's just a whole lot.
It sounds like a lot. Planning a wedding can be pretty extensive.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I
It
guess
is.
it's causing some stress for sure.
Yeah, a lot of stress.
Okay. And how is that stress affecting your dynamic with your partner?
It's kind of putting a wall between us. It's causing significant issues.
Would you be
She
comfortable
has been,
saying a little bit more about the issues?
yeah, well, physically, she's cut me off. Most of the times we talk, it's just arguing and bickering and back and forth nonsense. And she doesn't even know if she wants to get married anymore.
Hmm. Wow. Okay. So it's sounding like it's pretty significant there. So she's kind of this the issues you're having with the substance use is causing kind of a rift between you two, especially with the stress of planning this wedding. And it's even gotten to the point where you're thinking about calling the wedding off. Did I hear you correctly?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I feel like there's something I could do to maybe change her mind, help her understand what I'm going through and my issues.
Yeah, I think that's really great, Mike. And taking this step, coming to therapy, I think is a really, really commendable step that you're doing. Um,
Mhm.
I think it's really powerful actually that you have decided to take this step, even if maybe you're not quite ready to give up smoking weed and cigarettes altogether. It's honestly, it's a really great step, and that takes a lot of courage. So
Mhm.
that's really good.
She didn't she didn't give me much of a choice. But like I said, I'd do anything for her.
I can tell you really care about her.
Mhm.
Okay. Um, so we did talk a little bit about the memory loss and
Mhm.
some of the issues that's causing with both your fiance and your employer. Is there
Mhm.
anything else health related going on that is stemming from your use of substances?
Well, I do have asthma, so that kind of is a big no-no to smoke and have asthma. But I also have been developing a bit of a cough from it. And my fiance was saying it's pretty severe from what it used to be as just an asthma cough.
Okay. Your fiance is saying that she's noticing it. Are you noticing it at all?
Yeah, especially on hot days like this, I really do notice it.
Okay. And so I can understand a little bit better, you did say something about your work and you have increased your use. Could you explain a little bit of what that increase looks like? Is there a time in your life when your use wasn't causing any significant problems and it was maybe a little bit more manageable?
Oh yeah, it just kind of started out, it really helped me sleep. So I would wake up, have breakfast, have a coffee, drive to work, get to work all day and be perfectly fine, and go home, eat dinner, still have no urges of smoking weed. And before I'd go to bed, maybe an hour before, I would just smoke a little bit. Helps knock the edge off, kind of unload from the day. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that. Um, so it started out kind of, we'll say innocent, if I might. Um, and then it's progressively gotten more and more as you've experienced a little bit more stress in your life. Um, would you say you did say that your work environment was the initial cause for this increase in consumption? Did I get that right there?
Yeah.
And then it's kind of spilled over into your personal life with your fiance, and that's what's causing these issues you're having in your life areas.
Yeah, that's fair to say. That makes sense. That sums it up.
Okay. Um, is there any other information you want to give me there, or do you want to move on?
Um, well, we can move on for now. If there's anything I think of, we can definitely come back to it.
Okay, perfect. If we might, do you want to talk a little bit about the relationship with your fiance? I think you mentioned something about doing anything for her. Would that involve maybe changing your use a little bit?
I've definitely been trying lately, but it just seems like every time I start to do better, something else happens and then I just revert back. There
Okay.
would be there would be times where I would smoke at work and then go home and not smoke at all until the next day. And then there's times where I go home and it's just hectic, stress, constant fighting, and it just makes sense for me to kind of just smoke a bowl or smoke a joint and just have a good night to myself.
I understand that. I can see how that might, in the moment, make you feel better.
Hmm.
And making yourself feel better, I think it's a great step that you have taken this step in coming to therapy today because you're kind of getting a sense of control by doing that. You're taking charge of your substance use and you're actively seeking ways in which you might be able to improve improve your relationship with your fiance, improve your ability to conduct your day at work and your relationships there, and even improve your health.
Hmm. Like I said, the fiance is the only one that matters to me.
I can tell you do really care for her. I think that's really great, and that's definitely a good strength you have. I think you have a good relationship there, and maybe her, I know you said she's kind of nagging you sometimes. I'm wondering if maybe that nagging is coming from a place of love. Maybe she really wants you to be feeling better. Maybe she wants you to see what it might be like to go through life without using substances. Does that sound like something that might make sense?
Yeah, it does. And then there's days where I go, I think she's just being mean to be mean.
I understand that. I think it's kind of hard when we're already having some troubles and maybe things aren't going our way and we're trying to make it better. We're trying to do the best we can, but others kind of get under our skin sometimes.
Hmm. Seems to happen a lot, but that's what love is sometimes.
It's compromise.
Exactly.
Okay. Um, so it seems like your fiance and wanting to get better for her is the main reason of why you decided to come to counseling today. Even though
Mhm.
your employer did say that he wants you to come and see someone, it seems like the fiance is the big factor here. Would I have that
Mhm.
correct?
Yeah, I'd say so.
So if we could talk a little bit more about that. Aside from the wedding planning, which is stressful, um, the nagging, the bickering, is there anything else going on with you and your fiance that you would like to let me know about? Maybe I could understand a little more clearer of the issues you're having there.
Well, another thing that she hates is me smoking in the house.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit
But
about
it's just as much mine as it is hers.
is she smoking as well?
No,
Okay, so what you meant by that is it's your house too. You're allowed to do what you want.
exactly.
Okay. Um, just thinking on that, I think you understand that there is some health factors that come from smoking, correct?
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, maybe her wanting you not to smoke in the house might be a form of her trying to say, I don't really want to have this smoke around me. Would that make sense?
Yeah, I always do try and go to the bathroom so I can use the vent or anything like that, but sometimes I will smoke on the couch.
Okay, and that's what's causing some of the nagging.
Hmm.
Okay. If we could, okay, so you did say that you will have a cigarette on the couch sometimes. That's not really what she likes. So you do say that you do want to get better for her, but on the other hand, you're saying that it's not that big a deal that you're smoking in the house, even though it bothers her.
Well, it's not that I don't care. It's like to me it's kind of like when somebody cooks food you don't like. You deal with it. You put up with it while it's happening and then you go on with your life.
I understand that.
Hmm.
Okay. Um, so other than that, we've talked a little bit of kind of where the nagging is coming from with your fiance. We've talked about the stress you're having with planning the wedding. Um, is there anything else you want to talk about that might improve what's going on at home for you?
Well, I would like to know if there's any ways that maybe I could start to do better and make them happy.
Yeah, for sure. So let's talk a little bit about that. So what can you do? What can Mike do that's going to help the people in his life feel a little bit better and maybe stop nagging him so much? Is there anything you can think of that would help get you to that point?
Get a new job and a new fiance. No.
That would be
uh,
easy, wouldn't it? That would be the easy solution.
no, I could probably make a change and maybe not smoke in the house or maybe cut one of my sessions out of the day.
Okay, so you would be willing to try not smoking in the house?
I could try.
Okay, I think that's a good first step. You can always try, right?
I could definitely cut the cigarettes out in the house. Maybe not the weed, but definitely the cigarettes.
Okay. I think that's really great that you came to that decision. Um, it's something maybe a little bit easier than cutting out use altogether because you're still going to have your marijuana, but maybe not the cigarettes.
Hmm. Just small steps.
Small steps. Perfect. That's all we can ask for, right? Change. Rome wasn't built in a day. We can't
Hmm.
change in one day.
It's nice enough outside. It's not a big deal to go smoke a cigarette out there.
Okay. Maybe we can come back to that. Maybe we can make that maybe one of your goals for this therapy thing that you're doing here. Would that be something you would want to do?
Yeah,
To make that maybe one of your goals that say you cut out the cigarettes on the couch for maybe this week. See how that goes.
I could, I could definitely give it a go.
That's amazing.
Hmm.
So that might help you in regards to the fiance. Is there anything at work that we might be able to look at that would help?
New job. No, maybe like I was saying, try and just reduce the amount I'm using.
Has there been any times in the past where you've been able to reduce use, and have you ever been successful in doing that?
Never, I've never really had an issue until now. Like I would always be an occasional marijuana user, go hang out with some friends on the weekend, smoke a little bit, and then not care for it. But it's just becoming this vicious circle where I need it.
I can understand how that can happen, especially with what you've told me about some of the stress you're having at work and at home.
Hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so I would like I would like for a moment if you could just envision what would it look like for you to make these small changes? Could you tell me a little bit about what that might look like for you?
I feel like those small changes wouldn't affect me too much.
No?
Not at least not in a bad case.
Not in a bad case.
No, it'd be beneficiary if I were to make those small changes, probably.
Yeah, so it wouldn't be bad.
Hmm.
Is there anything else that you can think of that might benefit from you cutting back your use at home?
Less nagging. Maybe have more time to just spend together instead of trying to bury my problems.
Yeah, for sure. Could you tell me just a little bit more? Is there any other problems that you would be trying to bury? Is there anything that we haven't discussed that maybe you want to tell me a little bit about?
Um, well, there was a time I crashed a car at work, but
Would you be comfortable giving me that story? I'd love to hear it if you're willing.
yeah, so it's kind of I was stoned, but it wasn't like it's a mistake anybody could make. You have to wear steel toes at work, and I had my foot on the brake pedal, and the car wasn't starting to move yet, so I just released my foot off the brake, still wasn't moving, so I did give a little bit of throttle input, and when I did that, it started to move, and I went to transition my foot back to the brake, and when I did that, the steel toe caught the accelerator pedal and I basically floored it into the wall.
Oh no.
It was very minimal damage, but there was a little bit of damage done to the shop.
Okay. You weren't hurt in that little episode?
No, thankfully nobody was.
Okay, that's good. Okay,
Hmm.
so there was a little bit of an incident at work due to the marijuana use. Thank you for
Hmm.
sharing that story. Um, it's really commendable of you to share kind of those vulnerable stories. And it helps me understand a little bit more of like not the severity of the problem, but some of the things that have gone on that have maybe caused your boss to, how would you say? Would you say he's kind of questioning your abilities?
Yeah, that's fair to say.
Okay. Okay, so we've definitely gone over a lot of things that are causing some issues in your life regarding your substance use. Is there anything that you would like to share that is really positive that's going on for you right now?
Other than hopefully getting married, nothing too much. Oh, I did actually just complete my high school diploma 10 years later than I should have, but I did it.
Wow, okay, so you got your diploma for high school. Oh,
Yeah,
wow, congratulations, Mike. That's really excellent. That's a great step.
thank you.
I bet that made you feel really accomplished.
It did. It was easier than I thought it would be, to be honest. I was pretty close when I stopped going.
Wow, that's great. So you have your diploma now. Is that gonna open up any opportunities for you? Like, why did you decide to go back and get that?
It'll just make it so I can become licensed in my industry and I'll be more valuable dollar wise as an employee.
Amazing. So that's a really good step
Hmm.
towards your career.
Hmm.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing
Yeah.
that. That's really great.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you're progressing a little bit in your career.
Hopefully.
Would you ever would you ever connect that to maybe what might be beneficial in reducing your cigarette or marijuana use?
Yeah. It just opens up the door for employment for me. Nobody wants to hire a high school dropout. And even at that, nobody wants to hire somebody with their GED. So I figured I should go back and just finish high school and get my proper diploma.
Amazing.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's really great. Um, that takes a lot of courage, Mike, and that's very commendable that you've done that.
Hmm.
So that's good.
Yeah.
You're looking up. You've got your diploma now. You're going to be on your way to getting licensed. That's going to increase some income for you. What does your
Hmm.
fiance think of all this?
We don't really talk about it too much. We're always back and forth fighting. That's why I want to improve so we can kind of get to that life that we used to have.
And what would that look like, that life that you used to have? Could you explain a little bit of that so I can get a kind of a picture?
We would always go out, hang out with our friends, or go for a hike somewhere, maybe go swimming. But it's just either wedding planning or fighting.
Yeah, the wedding planning's taking up a lot of time, I can tell.
Hmm. It's very time consuming. You wouldn't think it would be.
Yeah, I can understand that. Some of them are simple, some of them are complex. Okay, so maybe we could return to the idea of setting some goals. So you have made it clear that you are willing to make a few small changes that might improve your life at home. So just so we can solidify that a little bit, what would be one goal, maybe today, maybe next week, next month? What would be a goal that you would be willing to do? I know we talked about maybe not smoking on the couch. Is there any other goals you would like to set? Or do you want to just stick with the one simple goal that we created of not smoking in the house?
Hmm. I think start small just so I can really focus on it.
Of course. Yeah, it's always good
Mhm.
to start small. And that's definitely something we can continue to work on. So,
Yeah.
just wrapping up a little bit here. So, today we talked a little bit about some of the issues you're having regarding your substance use of cigarettes and marijuana. You are mixing them together, and
Mm.
it's started to cause some issues for you while you're at work between your employer. It's causing some problems with your health. You have asthma, and you're experiencing some coughing, a little bit of memory loss. That's also causing some issues at your work. And we talked a little bit about how your substance use is affecting your relationship with your fiance. Is there anything else that we maybe missed talking about today? Is there anything else you would like to discuss before we end our session today?
Um, Not that I can really think of. No, that's really been the big of it that's been going on.
Awesome. Well, Mike, thank you so much for sharing all you did today. I think that's really great that you've been able to tell me your story and you were comfortable saying all of it. Um, I'd really like to see you again sometime soon. Maybe we can schedule another appointment where we can continue to talk about some of these goals. Would that be okay with you?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. And would you mind, I know it's kind of silly, but doing a little bit of homework for me
Sure.
between now and our next session? So maybe it would be beneficial for you to start a journal and write down some of the things that might be causing some issues. So it could be some of the things we talked about today, or if you think about anything else that's bothering you that maybe you want to talk about in the next session, we can definitely look into that. And if you're comfortable doing that, I think it would be kind of beneficial to write down some of your thoughts. Is that something you would be willing to do?
I can definitely do that for you.
Give it a try.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, Mike. If there's nothing further, I think we will schedule our next session and then we'll continue talking about your substance use and what we can do to help improve your life.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much for today's session, Mike. I'll see you next week.
Okay, sounds good. Have a good night.
You too. Thank you.
Bye.